My wife brought men into my house while I was working as a truck driver to support our family. Now she lives with her sister in a car. My name's Mason. I'm 36. I've been a long-haul trucker for most of my adult life. Thousands of miles behind me, and I used to think I knew what endurance meant. But nothing on the road ever prepared me for what was waiting at home. For the last 10 years, I've been married to Laura. She's 35, worked in insurance until recently. And for a long time, I thought we had a solid partnership, not flashy or romantic like in the movies, but stable, dependable. She took care of things at home. I took care of the bills, and together we built a life that felt grounded. We bought a modest house for $210,000 a few years into our marriage, put in the effort to make a home, new cabinets, garden beds, repainted siding. Now it's worth nearly double. I never asked for much. My idea of happiness was simple: a clean home, a working truck, dinner on the table, and someone to laugh with now and then. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe simple started to feel like stagnant to her. It began when her older sister, Rachel, moved in with us for just a couple weeks. She'd been through her second divorce and needed a place to land. I agreed, of course. She was family, even if we'd never really clicked. Rachel was different. Loud, opinionated, dramatic, always chasing some new phase. Salsa dancing in Spain, pottery in Peru, yoga retreats in Thailand. She had stories for days, most of which involved men, cocktails, and questionable choices disguised as empowerment. At first, I stayed out of the way. I figured she'd stay in the guest room, scroll dating apps all night, and move out once she found her next chapter. But 2 weeks turned into 2 months, and something started shifting in Laura. She started following all these transform your life influencers, women who preach about escaping domestic prisons and unlocking their inner wild woman. Suddenly, the job she'd held for 8 years was draining her spirit. She quit without talking to me, just handed in her resignation, and said she needed to explore other paths. I was stunned. We'd always discuss big decisions together, until now. "You're still working," she said with a shrug. "We'll manage. I just need some time to figure things out." I didn't push back at first. I figured it was a phase. But it got worse. She stopped cooking, stopped cleaning. Laundry piled up. Dishes sat in the sink for days. She'd spend hours on her phone or out networking with people I'd never heard of before. Our evenings, which used to be spent watching old crime shows and sharing a beer, were replaced by silence and separate rooms. I'd come home from a 14-hour shift, filthy, starving, and exhausted, and she'd be lighting candles, reading books with titles like Sacred Female Fire or Redefining the Self. She said things like, "I'm not your housekeeper," or "You're lucky I'm not asking for more." More of what? I wanted to ask, but I didn't. Instead, I got quieter. Started doing everything myself: repairs, yard work, laundry, groceries. I took longer routes just to avoid going home. I stopped hoping for dinner and got used to reheated leftovers from the gas station. The worst part? I still loved her. Or maybe I loved who she used to be, before Rachel's voice started replacing her own. I thought the cracks would eventually seal, that she'd get bored and come back to the quiet life we built. But instead, I felt like a ghost haunting my own house. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a Thursday night. I had just pulled into the driveway after a long route down to Texas. My back ached, my hands were stiff, and I was running on black coffee and fumes. I opened the door, expecting maybe a nod or a quick welcome back. Instead, Laura stood in the kitchen with a glass of wine and said, "Mason, I've been thinking. I want to talk about opening up the marriage." I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. I stood there, halfway into the kitchen, keys still dangling from my hand, wondering if I'd heard her right. "You want to what?" I asked. Laura didn't flinch. She swirled the wine in her glass like it was a boardroom presentation. "I think we both change. And that's okay. We've been together a long time, and it's natural for people to grow apart a little. I just think we could both use some freedom." "Freedom from what?" I said slowly. "From pressure, from expectations, from this stale rhythm we've fallen into. She paused. It's not about not loving you. It's about experiencing life differently. I just want to explore. Safely. Openly. Honestly. She said it like she was offering me a vacation package. And by explore, you mean? Other people, she said, like it was nothing. Casual. No lies. We'd still be partners. But with room to breathe. I felt like the floor had just shifted an inch to the left. She talked about radical honesty, about not holding each other hostage emotionally, and how other couples are thriving this way. She brought up podcasts, articles, and even her yoga friend who's never been happier since she and her husband untangled the knot of ownership. The worst part? She thought she was being generous. Look, she said, setting the wine down and walking over. You're a good man. You've been solid. But we're different now. I don't want to cheat. I want us both to have this freedom. Together. I should have yelled. I should have packed her things right then and there. But I didn't. I looked at her, this woman I built a life with, and I realized something. She had already made up her mind. My opinion wasn't part of this conversation. It was a courtesy. So I said the word she didn't expect. Okay. She blinked. Really? Sure, I said. You want honesty? Let's be honest. I've been exhausted for years trying to make this work. If this is what you want, fine. She smiled like I just handed her a birthday present. Thank you, Mason. I knew you'd understand. I didn't. Not really. But I understood enough to know what I had to do next. That night, while she was in the bath texting God knows who, I opened my laptop in the garage, created a new email, opened a private bank account, scheduled a consultation with a divorce attorney named Michael Sterling, whose name I found in a trucker forum. He specialized in high asset protection, and the first thing his site said was, asterisk, plan now, not when it's too late. Asterisk, I wasn't angry. I was focused. For the next few weeks, I started playing the role. The chill husband who agreed to everything. I let Laura talk about rules, like honesty, protection, communication. She told me she was just going to start with conversations, nothing physical yet. I nodded, made dinner, and even cleaned the gutters like nothing changed. But something had changed. I started documenting everything. Every strange expense, every vague outing, every new name she dropped. I updated our inventory list. House value, car titles, tools, everything I'd invested in for the last decade. I scanned receipts. I backed up texts. I took photos of the garage tools, the new washer I bought last year, and the furniture she insisted on replacing every 2 years. She thought I was going along with her plan. She didn't realize I was building mine. Late one night, I noticed she left her phone face down on the couch. For a second, I thought about checking it. I didn't, because I didn't need proof. I already knew. In her mind, she had already left the marriage. I was just the last to get the memo. And if she wanted to leave, fine. But she wouldn't leave with everything I built. Not this time. It started with little things. A new perfume. Late-night showers. Mysterious yoga classes that suddenly ran over by 2 hours. Laura had always been good at hiding things when she wanted to. Smooth, confident, never flustered. But now I was watching, and she didn't know it. One Friday night, she walked in around 11:30 p.m. Hair freshly done. Lip gloss still shining. Your yoga class in at the bar? I asked without looking up from my laptop. She froze, then smiled. Samantha and I grabbed a drink. You know how we get when we talk. I nodded. Sure. In the background, I had the home's new security system open. Discreet cameras I installed last week on the guise of extra safety, since we lived near the highway. She didn't even blink when I said it. What she didn't know was that one of those cameras pointed directly at the driveway. I already had footage of her being dropped off by a sleek black car, same one that had stopped by twice before. The guy never walked her to the door, just a quick lean in at the window. Then she'd fix her hair and stroll in. I didn't confront her. I documented it. My attorney, Michael, had advised, asterisk, you're not trying to catch her. You're building a wall of facts. Clean, quiet, strategic, asterisk. So I played along. Want me to make some tea? I asked. Laura looked startled, then nodded. Sure, that'd be nice. While the kettle boiled, she scrolled on her phone, smiling a little too much. I watched her fingers move like she was texting someone she wasn't supposed to. Her openness wasn't exactly transparent. Meanwhile, I was changing too, and not just legally. I started getting up an hour earlier, hitting the gym 5 times a week. I'd lost 15 pounds already. My shoulders were coming back. My posture was stronger. For the first time in years, I looked in the mirror and saw someone I respected staring back. I also cut fast food, started prepping meals, packed protein bars for long drives, replaced road sodas with water and electrolytes. My blood pressure dropped. My sleep improved. My head cleared. I was becoming the version of myself I hadn't seen since I was 25. And Laura noticed. Have you been working out? She asked one evening. I shrugged. Just try and take care of myself. You look different. Confident, I guess. I gave a soft smile. Thanks. Feels good to feel good. She tilted her head and narrowed her eyes, like she couldn't decide if she liked the change or felt threatened by it. 2 weeks later, I ran into Amanda. She lived 2 houses down. Widowed 5 years ago. Ran a personal training business out of her garage turn gym. Always friendly, always polite. She waved from her driveway as I walked past after a jog. Hey, Mason. New routine. Something like that, I said, wiping sweat from my forehead. You're looking strong. You training for something? Yeah, I replied with a crooked grin. Freedom. She laughed, but I wasn't joking. Amanda. And I began chatting more after that. Just casual workouts, food, dogs, travel. She had a golden retriever named Bear that always ran up to me with a tennis ball like we were old pals. One Saturday, Amanda invited a few neighbors over for a backyard barbecue. Laura declined when I told her. That woman's thirsty, she snapped. I raised an eyebrow. For what ribs? Laura didn't laugh. You don't see how she looks at you? I think she just respects hard work. Laura glared. You really think she's just friendly? And that's when I knew. Laura wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid someone else might value me more than she did. After the barbecue, Amanda and I sat under patio lights, sipping iced tea while Bear dozed off between us. You're a good guy, Mason, she said. Whatever you're going through, I can tell you're handling it with a lot more grace than most would. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, because I wasn't done yet. Laura had no idea how close I was to the end of the charade. But when the time came, I'd be walking out, not crawling. The air that day felt heavy, humid, oppressive, like the universe itself was holding its breath. I had just pulled into the driveway after a long-haul route, the engine of my rig still ticking as it cooled. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue over the neighborhood. From the outside, everything looked normal, but I already knew it wasn't. While I was hauling freight across 3 states, my home security app pinged me at 2:17 p.m. The front door camera caught a man entering. Tall, muscular, sunglasses on indoors. He didn't knock. He had a key, and Laura was right behind him, laughing. They vanished inside. No rush, no guilt, no hesitation. I didn't watch the rest of the footage. I didn't need to. I sat in the truck for a few minutes, breathing, not angry, just still. She had broken the final rule. R1, clear line in the sand. You do what you want, but not in our home, not in my space, not under the roof I paid for, fixed with my own hands, and still clean while she found herself. And now I was done playing nice. I walked to the door slowly. I wanted her to hear the footsteps, to know it was me. I didn't slam the door. I opened it calmly, set my keys on the counter, hung up my jacket. Silence, then soft whispers. A shuffle, movement upstairs. I stood in the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. Moments later, Laura appeared at the top of the stairs, wrapped in a towel. Mason, you're back early. I took a sip. 3 days early. Her eyes darted behind her, then back at me. I didn't expect. I cut her off with a look, not angry, Just done. I saw him come in, Laura. She went still. All pretense dropped. Look, she started, descending the stairs, gripping the towel like it was armor. It's not what it looked like. It's exactly what it looked like. And you gave him a key. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She had no excuse. Just a crumbling mask. I was lonely, Mason. You're always gone, and I held up a hand. Save it. I don't need explanations. I need honesty, which you haven't given me in a long time. Just then, he walked in, the guy, wearing one of my shirts. I laughed, actually laughed. It came out sharp and hollow. Hope you enjoyed the guest experience, I said to him, because you're about to be on your way. He looked confused. What's going on? Laura looked panicked. Mason, don't make a scene. Please. Oh, no, I said calmly. No scene, just consequences. I handed her a folder from my duffel bag. Divorce papers. Already notarized, already filed. All it needed was her signature. On top of it, a list of every expense she had run up in the last 6 months. Credit cards, online orders, trips to yoga retreats that somehow always ended at beach resorts. She scanned the paper, color draining from her face. Mason, you don't have to do this. I do, I said, because while you were busy finding yourself, I found something too. My boundaries. The guy cleared his throat. Maybe I should go. You think, I said with a cold smile. You know where the door is. Maybe leave the shirt. He dropped the keys on the counter and left without another word. Laura sat on the couch, trembling. I thought we were exploring, she whispered. No, I said, stepping back. You were escaping. I was surviving, and now I'm choosing to live. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there, stunned, as I walked into the garage to grab the rest of my bags. I moved out that same evening, not because I had to, but because I wanted to be far from the noise I knew was coming. I didn't slam the door, didn't shout. I simply packed my essentials, the tools that built this life, the notebooks that held every receipt, the files my lawyer told me to collect. Clothes? Just what I needed. Sentiment? None. I drove to a quiet extended stay motel on the edge of town. Clean room, decent Wi-Fi, silence. It felt like freedom in disguise. The next morning, I met with Mike, my attorney. He was already reviewing the security footage and my compiled expenses. All those late nights collecting screenshots, logging transactions, documenting every missed mortgage payment she promised to handle but didn't. Worth it. She's going to fight dirty, he warned, flipping through pages. She'll claim emotional distress, manipulation, maybe even false financial dependence. I smirked. Let her try. I paid every bill. She quit her job. I have 6 months of her $0 deposits to our shared account. I'm not the one bringing strangers into the home. Mike nodded. We'll hit first. That same day, I transferred most of my liquid savings into a private account, switched auto payments to a new card, changed my mailing address, installed digital locks at my workshop, and just in time, because that evening I got the first text. Laura asterisk, you can't just leave like that. We need to talk. Then a second, Vanessa asterisk, you're being immature, Mason. This isn't how adults handle things. Call Laura before you make a mistake you'll regret. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the burner email Mike helped me create, linked only to legal and financial threads. Inside, a notification from the county clerk confirmed. Laura had not yet responded to the divorce filing. She was stalling, buying time, plotting. 2 days passed. Then came the email. Subject asterisk petition for emergency support and access to share property. Mike called me instantly. They're going to claim temporary control of the house until the divorce is finalized. They can try, I replied. The footage already shows she invited her guest into our marital home multiple times. That violates our agreed terms. That house is no longer shared property. It's compromised. Mike laughed. Let's make that the headline. I spent the rest of the week tightening my side, collecting home repair invoices in my name, updating our HOA with my solo contact info, and meeting with financial advisor who nearly choked on his coffee when I said I wanted to lock down everything. She quit her job. I told him. She's not entitled to half the work. I did, while she was off pretending we were roommates. Meanwhile, Laura flooded my phone with messages that bounced between rage and regret. You're blowing this out of proportion. I didn't cheat. We agreed to open things up. You're not allowed to just leave and take everything. You're punishing me for exploring my identity. Every one of them went unanswered until she showed up at my workshop. Hair done. Makeup perfect. Tight blouse. Same perfume. I bought her on our 3rd anniversary. Mason, she said softly, stepping into the garage. We need to talk. I didn't look up from the engine I was working on. We already did. You just didn't listen. She crossed her arms. You're really going to throw away 10 years over a couple of mistakes. I looked her dead in the eyes. No, Laura, you threw it away. I'm just cleaning up. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there, stunned that her old tactics, charm, guilt, performance, no longer worked. I'm not giving up the house, she muttered. You already did, I said, tossing my wrench into the toolbox. When you brought someone else inside it. I knew they wouldn't go quietly, but I still underestimated how quickly Laura and Vanessa would go full scorched earth. It began with a knock on the motel door at 7 a.m., a court server. She filed for temporary spousal support, exclusive use of the marital home, and, get this, allegations of abandonment and emotional neglect. Mike was already on the phone before I finished reading. They're going to paint you as the distant, aggressive husband who left his poor, unemployed wife to fend for herself, he said flatly. Classic playbook. But we're ahead of it. He was right. Every receipt, every transaction, every security camera file had already been sent to his office. The footage alone, Laura bringing Matt into the house, rummaging through my things, was damning. But she didn't stop there. The next day, I was served a restraining order request. Claimed I made her feel unsafe and intimidated, which was ironic, considering I hadn't even spoken to her face-to-face since she showed up in the garage. Mike filed a motion to dismiss immediately. They're throwing mud, hoping something sticks, he said. But now it's our move. Meanwhile, Vanessa had taken up full-time PR duties for her sister, posting cryptic Facebook rants about controlling husbands and women reclaiming their power. She even messaged my cousin, someone I hadn't seen in years, to spread rumors. I didn't respond. I documented, let them spin the narrative. I was building the evidence. Then came the financial attack. They tried to freeze our joint savings account, the one Laura had contributed exactly /$0 to over the past 11 months. My bank flagged it instantly and alerted me. I was ready. Every transfer I made was legitimate, traceable, and already backed up. You're bulletproof, Mike said after reviewing my response package. But it's going to get uglier. And he wasn't wrong. At the first court hearing, Laura showed up in a beige cardigan and fake tears. Her lawyer, fresh from some discount law firm, leaned into the victim's script hard. Mason Stone systematically erased his wife's identity. He monitored her activities, restricted her spending, and abandoned her emotionally. My client deserves access to the home she built her life in. I nearly laughed. Then Mike stood up, calm as ever. We have time-stamped video footage of Mrs. Stone entertaining another man inside the property on multiple occasions. We have bank records proving Mr. Stone paid 100% of the mortgage, utilities, and groceries for the last year. And we have a signed prenup she's pretending doesn't exist. Silence. The judge asked if Laura's attorney had seen the video. He hadn't. Hearing adjourned. As we walked out, Laura glared at me with something new in her eyes. Fear. Not because I was dangerous, but because for the first time in our relationship, I wasn't backing down. That night, she sent one last text. You could have just talked to me like an adult. I deleted it without a word. 30 days. That's what the judge gave her. She had 30 days to vacate the property, remove her belongings, and cease all contact unless through legal counsel. Her emergency motions were denied. The restraining order request? Dismissed. But the most satisfying part? The court upheld our prenup. Laura wouldn't see a cent of my pension. No spousal support. No half of the house. She walked away with her clothes, her car, and a deeply wounded ego. As I stood outside the courthouse with Mike, breathing in the cold air, I felt like I had exhaled for the first time in years. "You won," he said simply, handed me the signed final orders. "No," I replied. "I survived." Laura didn't take it well. She moved in with Vanessa, surprise, surprise. But according to some mutual friends, that didn't last long. Two women with control issues and a victim complex don't make great roommates. Within 2 weeks, Vanessa had posted a vague story about fake friends who overstay their welcome. Laura started reaching out again. First, a guilt-tripping email. "I just thought 10 years meant more to you." Then a phone call I didn't answer. Then a long, handwritten letter, folded neatly and shoved under my garage door. She wrote about confusion, peer pressure, and how she didn't mean to lose me. But there was no apology, no mention of Matt, no ownership, just regret that her plans hadn't worked. I tossed the letter into the burn barrel behind my shop. The house was quiet now. My garage was full of tools, not tension. I'd removed every trace of her. The pastel dish towels, the framed quotes about self-love, even the blender she swore she needed for smoothies but never used. Amanda stopped by one evening. She handed me a bottle of whiskey and a crooked smile. "Thought you might want to celebrate," she said. I didn't flirt. I didn't cross lines. I just smiled, poured us each a glass, and we sat under the stars in silence. 2 people, 2 separate chairs. No pressure, just peace. Weeks passed. I got back into my routines, the gym, working overtime, helping neighbors fix their cars. My lawyer helped me set up a revocable trust, so no one could ever touch my assets again. I wasn't bitter. I was better. I kept a folder on my computer labeled Lessons. Inside were the screenshots, the financial logs, the legal docs, and every mistake I never planned to repeat. Not out of spite, but out of self-protection. Laura thought she was playing chess, but I wasn't her opponent. I was the guy who walked away from the board and built his own.